Good evening, everybody. I call the Bethany City Council meeting for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019 to order. And to start out with, we have some business to take care of so that half the people sitting up here on the horseshoe can actually participate in what we're talking about tonight. Judge, our city judge, Judge Himmler, will be conducting the oath of office for our new city council members. How would you like for them to do this? Individually?
I think some of them had family members who are going to post Bibles.
You want them to go to...
It might be easiest if you would, as they stand up,
Okay,
maybe stay on the horseshoe, and I'll just read it from here.
okay.
That's probably going to be the quickest way to do it.
That works for me. So whoever you want to start with, we'll let you take over this
Do you
part.
want me to do them individually, or they can talk about doing them all at once?
Do you want to do them all at once, or do you want to do it individually? It's up to you. This is your moment.
I think we decided to do them all at once.
All at once, okay. That works for me. If you have somebody that is holding the Bible for you that wishes to come down and do that, then
Otherwise, as you take the oath, I'd ask you to stand and raise your right hands.
Does anyone have an extra Bible?
I do.
Could maybe all the new council members stand here in front so we can get good pictures with your significant, thank you.
You want them all to go down front?
Yeah, please. That way we can get everyone on camera.
So I think they're going to have you move towards the center of the
You want my wife to
circle
hold that
so
for
that
you?
they can get you all on film at once.
Come on, babe. SR. Do it for SR. Oh, I need to go get another one? I'll go grab another one.
Okay, if you'll raise your right hands and then place them on the other one on the Bible. I, please state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma, and that I will not knowingly receive, directly or indirectly, any money or other valuable thing for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty pertaining to my office, other than the compensation allowed by law. I further swear that I will faithfully discharge my duties as a council member of the City of Bethany, trustee of the Bethany Public Works Authority, trustee of the Bethany Development Authority, and trustee of the Bethany Hospital Trust, to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Please rise for the flag salute and the prayer. Leading tonight's flag salute will be Chief Hunter, and leading our prayer is Councilmember John Herron.
Attention, salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray.
Heavenly Father, we thank for this time of great times in our city as we have a great council up here, Lord. We just pray that you just help us all be good stewards of what you have temporarily given us here to take care of, Lord, as it is all yours. Lord, I just ask that you'll just let the words of our lips, the meditations of our heart, be pleasing unto you, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Item 1 is consent docket A through D. Do I have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
So moved.
Please cast your votes. That's right. I remember that time for me. Item 2 is consideration and possible approval of resolution number 1535 concerning request of new owner of 3131 North MacArthur to proceed with rehabilitation of the dilapidated building and providing a time frame for commencement and completion of rehabilitation. Do I have a staff report?
Good evening. This is in response to 3131 MacArthur. Back in 2017, the City Council adopted a resolution directing the city attorney at the time to file a lawsuit because the building was considered a nuisance and needed to be abated. Since then, it has been purchased, and the gentleman wants to do rehabilitation to the building. So staff is bringing this back to you to pass another resolution so that he can move forward and do rehabilitation to the building. The resolution does have some blanks for some dates. I put a memo in front of your chair before the meeting with some possible dates based on what our senior building inspector thought were fair and feasible dates for the work to be done by. There was also a memo at your chair, a memo from an engineer stating that the building was structurally sound. That was the first thing that Senior Building Inspector Dustin Nichols wanted to see prior to looking at any plans or moving forward with any rehab of that building. And the engineer's memo does say that the building is structurally sound. The owner is here this evening. He can answer any questions that you might have. This property is zoned commercial general, so obviously it will only be able to be used for certain things. It'd probably be easier for you to ask me what it can't be used for versus what it can be used for, because CG is a very broad zoning category. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, or I can invite the owner up to answer questions as well.
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Knapp, do you have any questions? Councilmember Palmer, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would this process, based upon the new plans presented by the new owner, would that have to go through planning and zoning to get a site plan approved?
It's only going to have an approved site plan if they are adding any additional square footage, 10% or more. If they're not adding any additional square footage, it will not go to planning and zoning. The plans will go to Dustin Nichols for approval of plans.
And it's my understanding that the new owner received or purchased the property through the bankruptcy receivership. Is that true?
I believe so. Yes.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Herron, do you have any questions?
I don't believe so. My biggest concern would be public safety of the building and mold issues, so I hope that if there's any mold issues, because the roof has been off for such a long extended period of times and windows, that mold issues would be remediated. And I'm not sure if that falls in building code or not.
I would think so. Issues of mold?
I'm not sure if mold falls within our building code. I'm not sure I'm not sure how to answer that question.
We can find out an answer.
We can
though,
find
right?
out an answer for sure.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Herron?
No, sir.
Mr. Todd? Mr. Goodwin? SR, do you have any questions?
Man, my understanding is the owner is aware of these dates that have been established by staff, or is it going to be explained to him this evening?
They will be explained to him this evening based on if you approve the dates or not.
Thank you.
I don't
Amanda?
have any questions, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mrs. Larson?
I just want to verify that the procedures that will be followed will be our standard procedures within our city as far as meeting guidelines and codes.
Yes,
and-
ma'am. It'll
Thank
go
you.
through the same process with the,
Okay.
yes.
What I read, that's what I thought.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do y'all have questions for the owner?
Mr. Knapp? Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for the owner?
If anyone wants to look over the bigger copy, I have that too.
Okay, thank you.
Drawn by the architect, so. To address your mold issue, we are bringing building to the shell. All the sheetrocks, all the insulations, all the doors, frames will be taken out.
Can you speak into
Complete-
the microphone, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean to say your mold issue, which is my concern also. So we're going to have all this inside will be totally gutted. There'll be nothing will be using it. And only thing will be used is the fire sprinkler system. And I had a control fire came and look over, and they said it's in a pretty good conditions. So we don't have any issue there. Other than that, what we want to do it, we want to bring the building to Class B, basically, because of the structure and everything, a nice looking place. And I think I have one tenant, he's ready to occupy 3,000 square foot for the signage. I have another tenant who wants to do a A1 sandwich shop in the front area. So we've been working very hard to get it done, and as soon as you approve and less pendants is removed, we will be doing the demolitions of the roof, putting the new roof and everything else. And we currently own about over 40,000 square foot of office building on 11901 North MacArthur and 11900. And we know how to do it. We've been in business for a long time in the commercial constructions and the investments and things like that. So hopefully we'll do a very good job. We'll be proud of it. I have worked in the city of Bethany as well as Oklahoma City and all the other cities in the last 30 years. So we'll do a good job. You'll be proud of us when we finish.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer, did you have any questions?
I just want to make sure that the action you're requesting for the city council tonight is to stay the pending lawsuit in order to allow you to go about doing construction. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. And if that's not completed within the time frame, then the stay could be lifted and the lawsuit could be reenacted as pending currently. Do you understand that?
I understand that.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. We'll follow your time frame and everything.
Does
And we'll
anybody
discuss
else-
with the inspector, see what the practical time frames are.
Does anybody else have any questions?
In next 90 days, we want the exterior of the building to be completed. The interior might take more time, depends on who's the tenants are, how they want the divisions, because it will be shell. So it may take, depends on what it is, but we're building another 20,000 square foot right recently. And we have only 15% vacancy, 85% full. So I think we market very well. I'm also a real estate broker. It helps me to lease my property pretty fast, you know. So we'll try as quick as possible to rehab the inside, but we have some possibility to give some more, you know. But I want to make sure the exterior looks good first. So it all depends on market, and it all depends on. But we expect within less than a year we should be at 50 to 60% occupancy, you know.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Or so they can be inserted. I'm sorry, I apologize. We need to know what the recommended dates are so they can be inserted into
Okay.
the motion.
I think we could take
The dates that community development is recommending, just so it's for everyone to hear. Submittal of approvable construction plans to Community Development Department on or before 90 days of the approved resolution this evening. Commencement of construction on the building on or before 90 days of the plans being approved by the building inspector. And then substantial completion of construction on or before a year after the start date of construction, with an extension that could be asked if needed based on where they're at in the process and if we feel like we need to give them an extension. That was our recommendation.
Mr. Mayor, I would ask that Mr. Hermani verify that those are dates that he can live with.
He says yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 3 is a public hearing item. We have a presentation by Cox Communication LLC.
Good evening. My name is Robbie Squires. I am Director of Government and Regulatory Affairs for Cox Communications Central Region. And I'm actually a neighbor just to your west in Yukon, so very familiar with Bethany. I spend a lot of time here and a lot of tax dollars, so I'm glad to be here tonight. We are presenting a Cox franchise and a cable provider in the city of Bethany. Since 1999, we took over the cable facilities that were put in the ground in 1977, and we've done significant investment over those years, including 3 years ago, we made the announcement that we were investing $10 billion in our infrastructure across our footprint over the next 5 years. So we made a really large announcement just a few weeks ago with Mayor Holt from Oklahoma City, your former state senator, that we have made Bethany, as well as the metro area, we've built out to make it a gigabit city and gigabit cities and a gigabit community. So while 95% of our current customers right now have access to gigabit service before you don your swimsuits for summer, the entire Oklahoma City and Tulsa metro areas will be fully gigabit accessible. So in presenting this franchise, it just allows us to continue being the rights of way. It continues to allow us remitting franchise fees to the city. And so we hope to continue that partnership that we've had for many decades.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you tell me the total number of subscribers to Cox within the city of Bethany?
I can't, and I would be honest with you, I don't know that that's information we would release as we're a privately held company.
What is the total amount of revenue that Cox receives from subscribers in the city of Bethany?
Also, probably not something we would release as a privately held company. We could tell you what the franchise fees are paid to your city. I can get you that information because that's obviously public information. But as far as what we collect from our customers would be private information.
How can we calculate the franchise fee if it's 5% of the total revenues received through the city of Bethany?
Right, you have an auditing process, and I believe that you have an auditing company that works with us every year, and we do an audit every year.
What was the total amount of fees that the city received pursuant to its previous franchise agreement?
I don't know, but I will find that out for you.
The other issue is Cox Channel 20.
Okay,
It doesn't work.
okay.
And
I will tell you this is the first I've heard of that, so.
Well, I think if it's your business to provide services to the city of Bethany, I think it's also your responsibility to understand and determine that those services are being provided in a timely manner. So I have real reservations about this franchise agreement to the extent that there are services provided in the franchise agreement that don't work. So
Again, I as in any technology sector, I'm happy to fix anything that is broken, but if I'm not aware that it's broken, this is the first time this evening that this has been brought to my attention. So this has happened occasionally. People will call, different cities will call and say, hey, there's been a problem, there's a glitch, and we have a team that will come out and fix it. As a matter of fact, we've done it for the city of Bethany, I think 2 years ago. We had a quick response. So I apologize that it's not working this evening, that's certainly something that we do fix in a timely manner if we're aware of it.
well,
The monitor back there is actually our Cox 20. That's what it has been doing for, looks like 10 days. I don't know
Okay.
if that's correct.
Again,
but
this
yeah.
is the first I'm being made aware of it, so I'm certainly happy to get it fixed. But had I been aware before the meeting, I probably could have had it repaired, but I wasn't able to do that at 7:45 at night. I apologize.
Is there an option to,
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
hold on, I got a question. Is there an option for municipality to have a HD channel?
No, not under our franchise agreement.
Okay. You have another question?
Mr. I don't understand why you're asking the city council to sign and approve a 5-year, actually 10-year franchise agreement, and you're telling me you didn't check to see if everything's working before you showed up to the meeting tonight. I would make, that really concerns me to the extent that one of the major provisions in the franchise agreement is access to the Channel 20 channel on Cox. You can't tell me how many people subscribe. You can't tell me the total revenue that's available. And then the one service that you're actually giving us in the franchise agreement doesn't work. And then there's also provision in here that would allow the city to charge Cox subscribers an additional fee in order to purchase equipment related to the Channel 20, I guess that availability, but it doesn't work. So it just, I don't understand why you don't have answers tonight to the questions that we need in order to approve this franchise agreement. And the other question I have is, what is the current deal that the city of Oklahoma City has with Cox? What is their franchise agreement? Is it a 10-year deal?
It is a 10-year deal. We just renewed that agreement.
Do you provide services to public libraries through internet and phone for free to Oklahoma City?
We do not provide internet or phone for free to Oklahoma City.
Now, did you provide or will you provide those services outside of the franchise agreement?
We will not provide phone or internet outside of the franchise agreement for free. And while I would tell you some of those answers I don't have tonight, some of the answers you've asked for are not information that any privately held company would release. So the one question you have asked me, which is the franchise fees, I apologize for not having that tonight, but I can get it to you within hours. You can have it first thing in the morning. And I apologize for not having this evening. Again, as you can imagine, we have over 60 franchises across the state of
I
Oklahoma.
don't care about the 60
Okay.
franchises. I care about the city of Bethany to the extent that it's apparent to me that you came tonight thinking this was going to be a rubber stamp on behalf of the city council, and that's not what's going to happen, at least if I have anything to do about it, because you don't have the information we need to make an educated decision. With that in mind, Mr. Mayor, I would recommend that we table this franchise agreement at this point in time. I'd make the motion to do so.
I'll second it.
Does anybody else have any questions before I call for a vote? Okay. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to make a comment? Because this is a public hearing item.
Mr. Mayor, could I make one comment?
Yes, ma'am.
I understand that you personally may not have known these issues. I have seen you before. And in the last 10 years, it has been an ongoing issue with Channel 20. If you didn't know about it, then there's a communication problem within your company. And this is something that we both have the opportunity to reap rewards for, and our citizens most. But these things, in regards to service, which is what you're providing, need to be cleaned up before we as the council can agree to anything, in my opinion.
I understand that, and I would make sure that you understand this is to provide service to the citizens of your city. So if we are not allowed access to the rights of way for our facilities, there aren't other providers here that provide to all of your community, and certainly aren't making the investments that Cox Communications are. And so I would make sure that I make that point, that without this franchise, your community does not have high-speed internet. Your community does not have telephone or video through Cox Communications. And in a lot of situations, they're the only provider to some neighborhoods. We're the only ones that build out to entire communities as opposed to just certain neighborhoods. So without the franchise, your citizens would be at a significant disadvantage.
I can say as a Cox customer, yes, we have had issues, and yes, Cox has come through. But when you're in a public sector like the city of Bethany, somebody ought to be checking every Tuesday.
I understand that. And
operation.
I would also ask you, which of your other providers that provide to your community and have to get approval are required to carry a PEG channel? Are the other providers required to carry a PEG channel?
You just said no, I thought.
I'm asking. I don't know that
No.
they are.
Oh,
That's what I'm
I
asking.
thought you said no. I missed it.
No.
Yes. I will say that I don't have Cox Communication at my house. I have AT&T UVerse. And one of the things we did, because of the channel not being HD and because people can't view what's going on in the city council that want to, if they're outside the city limits, was we started Facebook Living all of our council meetings to bring more transparency and more people can see it. So, not that you're the decision maker that can decide this, but I do think it would be a good idea if not just Cox, but AT&T UVerse and anybody else provided to municipalities HD channels that people could choose to view outside the city limits. I do believe AT&T UVerse, you can do that, but I think that would be a better deal for those who want to watch what's going on in their city. But I appreciate you answering questions tonight. That concludes this public hearing item, and I'm calling item 4, which was the consideration and possible adoption of this ordinance 1968. I had a motion to table this. I believe we need additional information. I also had a second. So I would call for the vote to table this so we can gather some more information and make a decision. Please cast your votes. Thank you. Item 5 is consideration and possible approval of ordinance number 1969, an ordinance amending Title III, Administration, Chapter 37, Personnel, Section 37.07 of the Bethany Code of Ordinance pertaining to holidays, and specifically adding Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and the day after Thanksgiving to the list of holidays, modernizing the language, providing for repealer and providing for severability. I will say that this is two different holidays. When I asked for this item to be put on the agenda, was not thinking of the day after Thanksgiving. I'll try to explain this as best I can. I'm sure I'll botch it up. But I'm told by people who've been employed for the city of Bethany for 25 years that they have always gotten the day after Thanksgiving off. However, I believe it was they celebrated and acknowledged Columbus Day and not Veterans Day. They took Veterans Day the day after Thanksgiving. Then they realized they probably should recognize Veterans Day. And so it was April 6, 2010, they voted to have Veterans Day and have Columbus Day recognize the day after Thanksgiving. And it totally just melts my brain thinking how this has happened and how we've gotten to this point. And so this part of this agenda item is to simply clean up the ordinance book and give the employees the day after Thanksgiving, which they've had for at least 25 years. The other part of this is something that I asked to be put on this agenda, and I can't speak for previous leadership. I know that in the list of holidays for the city of Bethany, and I will find it here, that the 12th holiday is a floating holiday, and it reads, to be taken at the employee's request and subject to approval of the resource manager on either the employee's birthday, Martin Luther King Day, which is the third Monday in January, or at a time approved in advance by the department head. I personally don't feel like that's good enough. I don't feel like that's acknowledging a federally signed holiday that was signed by Ronald Reagan into law in 1983. As the mayor, I've been in several different conversations that people have asked me things like, how come the city of Bethany seems to lag behind in progress and development and things like that? And that gets pretty frustrating. I think we're making great strides. I think we've made a lot of great effort. We're moving forward. But I can say that lagging behind in acknowledging this man's day, we've lagged 36 years behind. And I'm excited about this day because I think it shows once again that the city of Bethany is moving forward. In my opinion, this is a man that probably impacted mankind as much or more than anybody in the last 100 years. And so I think it's only right, it's only fitting that we add this holiday to the list of holidays for the Bethany employees. I will also say that what I've learned is that the police and fire in their contracts have the equivalent of 13 holidays. I don't think they list them like that, but it's the amount of time is the equivalent of 13 days. The non-union employees only have 12. Adding this holiday will make it even to where all the employees have the same number of days. Really, the only thing that this costs the city is the lost productivity from employees not being here doing work. And I'm told that's just a little over $16,000. Again, I don't want to speak negatively about anyone previously, and I'm glad we're here today, and I'm honored to be able to say that I motion that we add Dr. Martin Luther King Day to the list of holidays for the city of Bethany. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Please cast your votes. Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 1969 that deals with Dr. Martin Luther King Day and the day after Thanksgiving?
So moved.
Do I have another second?
I'll second.
Please cast your votes again. Item 6 is consideration and possible approval of library change order number 11. Do I have a motion? Actually, this is a reimbursement.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 7 is consideration and possible approval of an engineering contract with Garver Engineering for the rehabilitation of the lift station located in the area of Northwest 17th Street and Divis. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 8 is consideration and possible approval of plans and specifications, including any ODEQ requirements for CIP 15-01 sanitary sewer extension, which is at Northwest 48th to Northwest 46th between College and Central. Authorization for mayor to sign the application for variance from OAC, and authorization for staff to solicit bids for the project when a permit is issued. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 9 is consideration and possible approval of specifications for the purchase of 2 computer servers and authorizing staff to solicit bids. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 10, Board of Adjustment appointments. A is Ward 1, Gene Wells. Do these need to be voted on separately or together? Do I have a motion for item A, 10A?
Ward 1 makes the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Ten B is the at-large, Peter Plank. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 11 is consideration and possible approval of specifications for water treatment plant, lime sludge extraction, hauling, and disposal, and authorizing staff to solicit bids. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. And that sounds like a terrible job to have. Item 12 is citizens' opportunity to address the council on general topics related to city business of service. You have 3 minutes. No action may be taken on matters under this item. Is there anyone that wishes to address the council? If so, please step to the microphone, speak your name and address.
Marvel Whitehurst, 6600 Northwest 29th Street. The only thing I have to say is Amanda's the first one to ever come over to the slum area since F.O. Brown. And I want to thank her for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, council members, welcome to the new folks on the Horseshoe. I'm Gilbert Carlson, 2601 North Rockwell. I took advantage of your absence a little earlier to leave a couple of tickets for you to a annual event. This is the 40th annual Friends of the Library book sale at the fairgrounds. This is a sale that has generated roughly $250,000 every year for the last several years. It's one of the largest in the United States, and it is important to all of our libraries because these monies are used to promote things that the library system does not have the authority to expend. For instance, if they wish to honor a retiring or a particularly effective employee, they do not have the ability to expend that money. We have a brand new library, but I promise you within 6 months of the time it's open, they're going to find some program or something that they do not have in their budget nor the ability, and they can approach the Friends of the Library. This sale is a 3-day sale. It's, as I say, it's one of the largest in the United States. There are currently over 800 volunteers that work throughout the year. As you probably know, my wife is your commissioner to the Metropolitan Library System. She's also very active in this part of the thing. She's gone every Wednesday morning, she says, to sort and price books. She gets me involved, and I'll be in the cage handling money again this time around. If you don't like to read, but you enjoy people watching, I strongly recommend that you come to this because it's very entertaining. Last year, there were 14 different states represented in people that purchased books. There are roughly 800 to 900,000 books this time around, and it's a particularly entertaining thing. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the 3 minutes, and as you may be aware, it says books, no batteries needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Item 13 is the city attorney's report.
I don't have anything.
Item 14 is the city manager's report.
I have nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Item 15 is council members' announcements, comments, and proposals. Let's start down here with Amanda Sandoval.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank you all for showing up, especially on this weather, kind of weather. Thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to say a couple words in Spanish. Bienvenidos a todos y muchas gracias por poder venir. Quiero que se sientan bienvenidos a estos tipos de meetings así de concejal que tengan. Si tienen alguna pregunta y que no saben cómo preguntar en inglés, por favor, tengan la libertad de yo les voy a interpretar para ustedes y muchas gracias por venir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Goodwin?
Grateful to be here for this first meeting and having met so many residents over the past few months, and just looking forward to great conversations and work here for the city. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Todd? Mr. Palmer?
I want to welcome the new council members. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to work with everyone as a team. I'm excited to the extent that we can now move forward on a lot of pending projects, and I'm excited to the extent that we're going to get some things done. And that's the best part, because we're here for the residents of Bethany to improve their quality of life, and we have an opportunity to do that. And if you have any issues or questions related to anything I'm working on, I'm an open book, and I'm available to work as a team member to find a common ground to get things done.
Mr. Knapp?
Thank you, Mayor. I also would like to welcome the new council members tonight, and welcome back to one of our members. And I'd also like to just thank Gilbert Carlson for these tickets to the Friends of the Library sale. My wife is a librarian by profession. We have taken advantage of the book sale. I think last year I probably spent about $40 or something like that, and walked out with like 2 bags full of books that kept me entertained for several months. But thank you for that, and I would encourage anybody that likes to read or has children that likes to read, or in my wife's case gives books to children, to go and take advantage of the Friends of the Library book sale. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Herron?
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to say welcome to the new council members and Mrs. Larson. And I hope we have great communication and we move forward together with a lot of great projects going on here in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hunter?
I'd like to thank the supporters out there in the community, especially the voters that put me on this board. I'd like to thank my family and friends. It's unfortunate, due to the weather, my 3 baby girls couldn't get in from Lincoln County to hold the Bible for me tonight, so they're home watching, and love you girls. I think we have great things ahead of us. We've talked about that, and I'd like to read just one little quote from Roy T. Bennett. Instead of worrying about what you cannot control, shift your energy to what you can create, and I think that's where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Larson?
It's great to be back. I want to say thank you first to my family for allowing me at least these next 4 years to put up with the things not getting done that I've been doing for the last 2 years. And to the citizens of Bethany, both in and outside of the Ward 3. It's a joy to be back, and I look forward to working as a team with everyone on this council and moving forward and seeing things come to fruition.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor? I'm sorry. Was reminded by Mr. Hunter's comments, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say on the record, my wife is home with 2 sick daughters tonight and wanted to be here, so I should mention that. Thanks.
I would like
out
to
of trouble, didn't I?
I would like to also welcome the new team members, and excited to be moving forward. We've got a lot of stuff going on that has been mentioned before. We've got a lot of big decisions to make very quickly to put members, new members on this team for city manager and city attorney hires that we need to get started on. We talked about that at 6:30. I also would like to explain that I explained in 6:30 kind of what you're seeing differently up here on the horseshoe to those of you who are not used to it looking like this. We rearranged things, and we're trying this out, starting with the senior member moving outward to the newest members. Vice Mayor Knapp is our senior member at this point with 6 years, when Mr. Shirey, who was our most senior member, just recently stepped down, did not run for re-election, been here 28 years. And so I'm looking forward to how things are going to work. But you will notice that with our names listed out here, there's no mention of the ward that they live in. And if you look at the board, there's nothing that says Mayor Westmoreland, nothing that says which ward they live in there either. Just their names have council member. Actually, my name is a smaller font, if you will notice, so they could fit it on the board, because for the last 2 years, they just chose to remove a couple letters and make it fit in there. But the reason why I decided to do this is because even though you live in your ward, you're elected within your ward by the people wanting you to represent them in that ward, when we come into this room, into this council chamber, we're having discussions and making decisions and casting votes that are for the good of the city as a whole. And I want to see that continue and move forward. So that's why I made the decision to kind of rearrange the way we're seated up here. And so I'm hoping that works out well. I also would like to just point out, Matt, that no pressure or anything, but my wife is sitting over here. Susan, she usually sits over here, is where you will normally see her, and I believe she has attended every single council meeting. Just saying, for spouses out there, that the bar has been set high. You know, I'm just kidding. They're not required to come. She comes to give me the look whenever I'm doing something wrong. So, item 16 is new business. Do we have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until March 5th, 2019. I call to order the Bethany Public Works Authority. Item 1 is the consent docket A and B. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, please.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 2 is new business. Do we have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until March 5th, 2019. I call to order the Bethany Hospital Trust. Item 1 is consent docket A and B. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 2 is new business. Do we have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until March 5th, 2019. I call to order the Bethany Development Authority. Item 1 is consent docket A and B. Do I have a motion of approval?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Please cast your votes. Item 2 is new business. Do we have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until March 5th, 2019. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.